Hello, 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 everyone. We are finally on our official YouTube channel of Youth for Christ. So, for the past two episodes, I've been posting them on my personal YouTube channel, and now we finally have our own YouTube channel, the official YouTube channel for Youth for Christ. So for those of you who haven't watched the first and the second episode, you can take a look at the description below because I'll be posting a link to my YouTube channel so that you can take a look on the first and second episode. And I believe that the Lord is gonna bless you through those two episodes because they've been so powerful, and the Lord has been speaking to me since then. So in this episode of the message, this third episode, we're gonna be talking about the Lord's will, God's will upon our lives, and how we can live according to God's will. Because I feel like we need to hear this. There's so many people who are not living according to God's will, including I. Like sometimes I feel like following God's will is the hardest way. I feel like following God's will is always hard because we tend to simply take a look at the easy stuffs, and following God's will is probably amongst the hardest things that we can do because the Bible tells us in the book of First Peter's chapter 3 verse 17, he tells us, for it is better to suffer for doing good, if that should be God's will, than for doing evil. So basically, it is better to do God's will because you know that you're doing good than not doing God's will because you'll be doing wrong. So that is it. And there's so many people that try to run away from doing God's will because they think that doing God's will like exclude you from the society. Like people will put you aside because you're following what someone that they think is not alive, someone that they think is not even there, is telling you to do. So that is why. And I feel like at times doing God's will cause you to suffer while doing it. Because if we take a look at Jesus Christ's life on earth, everything that he had done was following God's will. It was done in the thought of following God's will. Everything that he did was according to God's will. He preached the gospel. He healed the sick people. He healed so many people, and he performed miracles. He he fed the thousands of people. He walked on water, and he died on the cross. And that was also following God's will. We may think that following God's will is only about good stuffs, but no, it's also about the bad stuffs. Well, basically, not the bad stuff, but like suffering, just like Jesus did. Jesus suffered. So there were people that simply hated him because he was speaking about God, because he called himself the Messiah, because he called himself the Son of God. And I, in those days, they thought that it was blasphemy. They considered it as a blasphemy because he couldn't call himself God. So yeah, you will suffer. Like basically, you will suffer, but with God, at the end, you'll be more than conquerors. Because look at Jesus. He suffered throughout his walk on earth. On the cross, he suffered. But now he is seated at the right hand of the Father. He is rejoicing at the right hand of the Father, and he is interceding for us. He's praying for us. He's interceding for us. That is the God that we serve. And When you understand God's will, then you will know what God wants you to do. When you understand what the Lord wants from you, then you will know what the Lord wants you to do. As simple as it is. Because when we do not do God's will, when we do not perform in God's will, we will divert away from what the Lord wants us to do. We will do different things. We will do completely different things from what the Lord is requesting us to do. We will do things that are not acceptable by God. There's some people that say that, well, it's fine for me to drink alcohol because it's written in the Bible that you can drink alcohol. Yes, it is written in the Bible that you can drink alcohol. It's fine. But is the Lord telling you to drink alcohol? That's why we must constantly look and desire God's will in our lives. Because what may apply to someone else may not apply to you. If the Lord tells Peter that he can drink alcohol, it's fine, like, but not exceeding more than 2 bottles of beer or alcohol, then that is him. But for you, probably the Lord is telling you, do not drink alcohol. Do not, because the Lord knows that probably that is your weakest point. That's why we must constantly and constantly desire God's will in everything that we do. We must desire God's will. And we do not understand what God wants us to do because we are not walking in his will. You will not understand what God wants you to do because you are not walking in his will. So I really hope that this message was a blessing to someone, for sure. And I feel like the Lord is going to speak to so many people throughout this message, throughout this moment of sharing, of conversation, of talking together. I feel like the Lord is going to bless someone and is going to open someone's eyes to go back to him and to ask for his will. Because I believe that God's will is like God's permission. It's like the Lord is giving you permission to do something. That is what God's will means to me. Is the Lord giving you permission to do what he wants you to do, what he wants his child to do. Because a father would never want something bad for his children. No. Though it might be bad to us, though you may see it as something that you cannot do, but if your father is telling you to do something, just do it because he has the best interest for you. He doesn't want harm for you. He wants only good for you. That is all that the Lord wants from you. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.